call East Cocalico Township Supervisor meeting for December 19th. The order, please rise and pledge allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please silence your cell phones. At this time, I'd like Doug and RC and Troy to come forward, and Susie. Come on forward here, please.
Forever and ever in your cloud.
How you doing? Where are you going? How much did you get there? Troy made this beautiful crock. And he gave it to the township and said, one of the suggestions was be giving it to Doug and Susie in recognition of all the years they did for the township. And he took us off the hook.
All the employees' names are on the back.
I saw that, it's very nice. Yeah, it
Didn't
is.
leave anybody out, you know, but I tried really hard to get it the way it should be.
Troy. And all this.
It has everybody's name on it,
Mm-hmm.
And-
Police officers and everybody.
yes, and all the pool staff.
Right.
I couldn't keep going on the
No,
road.
you don't think,
But
not a big.
I hope I didn't hurt anybody's feelings.
I'm sure you did.
And I did the best I could with the front, with the artwork, and overall it turned out very well.
It turned out beautiful. Yeah.
Now, your better half,
Mm-hmm.
when you get home,
Yeah.
she has things out here in the vestibule for you, and she's gonna fix it up for you,
Okay.
that it'll look half decent.
Yes, I'm giving it to both of you, yes. In recognition of the, what is it,
24 years.
24 years as a supervisor, and Troy made that crock, it was beautiful, and
That's very nice. That really
it
is.
should have
Thank you
that
for
for our house.
everything you did.
Well,
The
thank
total
you.
of all
Thank
we
you
did.
for everything you do. This gentleman, you go past here on the holidays, he's the gentleman that decorates the place, puts the flags out for Flag Day, for Veterans Day, plants the flowers, does it on his own, out of his own pocket. So that's gotta be recognized too. And I for one, as one of 10,000 people in this township, I appreciate it because the place does look nice.
Well, we keep trying at it,
You do a
you
good
know.
job. Thank
I'm
you.
ready for next year
All
already.
right, thank you.
That's how many years total?
38.
38 years.
total.
14 years in the authority, and then went from there, took a year off and ran for supervisor and started serving in '96, and today is it. Well, today is the last official
No,
meeting. I have the 31st. If you can find me, I have the 31st.
Next Wednesday has to sign checks, so.
Yeah. That's
So you have a little bit more
a
time.
little bit.
You could always come back.
That's right, I can. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
How about a round of
Thanks,
applause for
Mike.
Troy
Thanks.
Okay. Did you get a picture? Thank you.
Thank you, Troy.
You bet. Thank you, Troy.
Happy holidays to everybody.
Thank
you.
At the end of the meeting, we're having an executive session to talk about personnel matters, although we no decisions announced when we come back in, you know, so. Okay, adoption of the meeting minutes for our meeting December 5th. Any additions or corrections to those minutes?
I don't have any.
Make a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
And I'll second that.
Any comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you. Police Department, Chief.
Good evening, how are
Good
you?
evening.
Good evening. Good.
I have a number of items on the list, so I'll get right to it. First thing, I would like to say thank you to the road crew. For last night, I called them out, or I called Chris, and as I was driving through East in Denver, and they said they were on the way. So we had no major issues or problems, even though the roads got pretty bad pretty quick.
Mhm.
So they did a great job on the first time out, so I wanted to say thank you for that to Chris and the other guys.
Yeah, 222 is quite the mess.
It always is. Speed detail information. We completed the final speed detail of 2019. I do not have it in my packet because it was just handed to me today. So for 2019, we received $9,256 in grant money. Basically, that's used for overtime for the speed detail, bringing officers in to strictly do speed details, not answer calls. There were a total of 414 total stops, 35 written warnings, and 379 citations issued. So half of the fine money from the citations, and this is not why we do this. We do not do this to generate money. But half of the citation fines does go back to the township or to Denver Borough. So that's a significant thing. Hopefully, it will continue around that same number for 2020. We will submit and hopefully get that grant. There was, as you probably saw on the news, a threat or a note in Cocalico School District, the middle school. It was handled by the school district very well, using their threat assessment protocol, and they're working with School Resource Officer Fisher. Through the investigation, a juvenile was charged with a felony terroristic threat. I can't go into anything else more than that, but it was handled properly and taken care of as needed. The toy drive is almost to the end of the donation portion. Tomorrow is the last day where we'll go around and pick toys up, unless a business calls us and says we have a few more. We will be going to Tower Health in Reading, Lawrence House in Coatesville, Lancaster General Hospital, Wellspan, Ephrata, Hershey Med Center, Ronald McDonald House in Hershey, Shriners Hospital in Philadelphia, and Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. So they'll all get quite a few toys. I think we're actually going to into the pediatric unit at Lancaster General and at Tower Health. So that's always a good time for the officers. The final thing I have is we received a donation from one of our vendors, and it was a surprise to me, but they said they had an extra one and they wanted to give it to us. And the donation includes, they call it a active shooter kit, but the donation includes a ballistic helmet, and it includes a very heavy ballistic vest. I'll set it down, you'll hear how heavy it is.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
that is a donation from them and a duffel bag that goes with it, and actually an extra carrier. I was surprised when I learned the cost. It was a lot less than I thought it was going to be to buy one. They're approximately $549. It would be nice to have one in every car, so I think after the holidays, after we get into 2020, I might try and do a campaign with some local businesses, trying to maybe look for some donations to outfit every car with one of those. So the vest can take a rifle round, so that's kind of important. So I can't say thank you enough to, it would be the Bob Barker Company and one of our local representatives, Mr. Arts, who is originally from around here. So we're ready to talk about the executive session, so that concludes my report.
Any comments or questions of the chief?
The only thing I'd like to add is that I was down in the toy donation room early, and there's a lot of giving people here in the township, and that's always appreciated. You heard where our officers take all these gifts, and I can only imagine what a child who's in the hospital has to go through, and then to see somebody walk in and hand them the gift. So I'm going to thank everybody in this room and everybody in the township that donated. That's very important, and it's much appreciated.
And I want to provide commendation to the police force for doing it this year after year.
And again, it's headed up by Corporal Sola, so he gets a lot of thanks because he does a lot of work for us.
How many years have you been doing
This is the 5th year.
Fifth year? That's it.
Okay,
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief. Tony, zoning officer.
Yes, good evening, everybody. You should all have a copy of my report. I'll keep it short, so looking at the size of the agenda. But another busy month. We had 22 applications in the zoning department, 27 permits issued, 12 in review, 16 for pickup. Another new single-family house was permitted this past month. 0 false alarm violations, which is always a good thing.
That's surprising.
Yeah. We had one, for zoning hearing board, we had one case for December, Money Creek Church Road property. I think the board's familiar with that site. Trying to get a 40-unit apartment house on that property. That decision is pending, but I do have 3 new cases for January. And if I could fit more, we probably would have a couple more, but that's about the max. And I won't go into exactly, you can see exactly who's there. We have 3 different parcels. People wanting to do some more things here in the township. I'll skip through code enforcement and other items just to go right to, at the very end of the list, under other items, 2 items here. My office was made aware this past weekend of a residential fire over at 65 East Summit Drive. The board may be aware we've had issues with that property in the past, previous owners, and I don't know why it keeps happening, but anyway, thankfully, nobody was hurt. The house did sustain heavy smoke damage and some water damage down in the basement. A wood burning stove and a wood pile next to the stove seems to be the place of origination. But I was out there on Monday morning with the owner of the property and several of the contractors, and then I coordinated a meeting with our building inspector, Commonwealth Code Inspections, to meet the contractors and talk to the people, and we're coordinating the permit process with them to make it as quick and as easy as possible. They've already, the building inspector has already talked with the contractors. They've already been back and forth with several of the inspections. So we want to get these people back in their home before Christmas. And the second item was, as you know, with new supervisor coming on board, that supervisor, Mr. Mitchell, was my vice chairman on the zoning hearing board. He cannot accommodate both positions, so he will be stepping down from the zoning hearing board. And we have had some suggestions through my board members for an alternate member. We like to have 3 voting members and always an alternate as a backup. It's worked very well for us in the past, and we want to continue with that. We have made contact with the young man, well, with a couple of people, but this one gentleman is eager to get involved, and I will send an email to the board, give you his name and number and all that good stuff, possibly coordinate some sort of interview. Okay, and I'll make you aware of that.
Yeah, I know the young man.
Yeah, and like I said, he was eager to get involved. He mentioned some things to me previous in the year, planning commission, zoning board, whatever. So it's nice to get some young people involved, as we all know. And with that, I'll...
How many new homes for the year?
I don't have a full tally because we still have this month to go, and
Yeah.
I just got a new one on my desk today. But I know for sure we're at 55.
55. Any questions of Tony?
Again, I have I'm sure you saw the advertisement down at Branson's.
Oh, yeah.
They're advertising parking availability.
I didn't see that.
Yeah.
There's a sign for
Please
parking.
Please keep your eye on that.
Okay.
We're not a truck stop yet, so.
No, we're not a truck stop yet, all right.
Last time there was probably 8 or 10 of them in there, they're changing their oil and antifreeze.
Have we stopped that?
The chief and I were out there and we
Right.
put stuff. Again?
Yeah, so
All right.
you're gonna have to watch that like a hawk.
I think so. And you know the ownership has changed on that property, so I don't know what agreements were made with the new owners, but I will contact them tomorrow.
Well, it doesn't matter, they're not allowed.
Exactly right, exactly right. And I'll make the new owners aware of that.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you.
Anything else with Tony, officer? Roadmaster will give his report at the next meeting. Okay. Under the treasurer's report, we have some resolutions to do today. Resolution 219-22. To adopt the resolution 219-22, provide necessary contributions as determined by the evaluation report required by Act 205 to the East Cocalico Police Retirement Plan. So, I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Next resolution is 2019-23. The motion be adopt resolution 2019-23 authorize certain general fund unencumbered monies remaining from the 2019 budget in the amount of $161,515.00 to be carried forward to the 2020 budget, general fund budget.
In order to balance it.
Yes, in order to balance the budget.
And I'll make that motion.
One second. Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Okay, motion to adopt resolution 2019-24, setting the 2020 tax rate for the East Cocalico Township. And the tax rate is millage rate 1.733, which is the same as last year. No change. Yes, the street light and height are the same too.
Right.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. The next motion be adopt resolution 2019-25. Will adopt the 2020 budget for East Cocalico Township.
It's been advertised for the appropriate time by law. It's been here at the township. I think it's been on the website. I don't know how many people, if anyone, has come in and asked to see it, but it's been here for your review, so.
This past year, we've done two major things. We changed the investment broker for the retirement for the policemen, which should give us a savings in the long run. It did this year.
Absolutely.
Our healthcare is now with Benetcon, which saved the township money too, and that's why we didn't have to do a tax increase this year, because of those two major achievements. Since I've been sitting on the board, we've been trying to get to Benetcon, and this year we finally did it. So I want to commend my partners in crime here for getting that done, so.
Well, the other thing that it isn't showing up this year, but I'm not gonna let it go by and let everybody know we've been talking about it for 2-3 years. It's MS4. It's around the corner. And we probably escaped it this year as far as a tax increase to fund that, but it's not gonna go away, folks. It isn't. And, you read the newspapers, everybody's facing the same thing if you're in the Susquehanna River watershed. The guys in Pittsburgh know they don't have to worry about it. The guys up in here, you don't have to worry about it. But if you're in the watershed, we're all gonna get whacked by it. So it's one of those things that we can't get away from. So again, we escaped it this year only because of the savings that Alan mentioned. But next year, I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but just be prepared.
One of the things I want to add too is it's commendable to the staff and the managers, police chief, to Chris, our roadmaster, to our staff internally. They've stuck with the budget. They've watched everything that they're spending money on. There were no surprises. And that's pretty difficult to do when you're trying to manage $6 million. And there's a lot of variables that pop up, especially with the roadmaster when it comes to variables such as the weather. So that's very commendable by the staff, and I want to give them a big thank you for that. It's easy for us, well, it's kind of easy for us to sit down, look at the numbers, analyze the numbers, do the projections, do analysis on the budget, but it's really up to them on a day-to-day basis to really stick to and manage that budget daily. So thank you.
I also want to mention that with Ken McCray here, we're trying to work different things that we could maybe save some money in MS4 in the future, if it works out. If it works out, hopefully it will. So I want to commend Ken being here and helping us in that, because if it doesn't work out, we're all going to be paying more money.
Yeah, let me add to that, to what Doug and Alan just said, is one of the biggest financial challenges we're gonna have going forward, just so it's very, very clear, as East Cocalico, as well as a lot of our neighboring municipalities, is MS4, is the water runoff because of the watershed. So that's going to be one of our biggest challenges going forward.
If I could just throw in hats off to Ken as well for seeking out and applying for every single grant that's out there, so, good deal.
Okay.
Save us.
I make a motion, we adopt resolution 2019-25.
Which is the 2020 budget. I will second that motion.
Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you. List of bills.
Okay, our list of bills, and they are as follows. We have a total general fund of $63,661.30. We have a total state fund of $9,655.96, and a total light fund of $13,854.53. Questions? Hearing none, I make a motion, we pay the bills as presented.
I'll second the motion. Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you. Land planning, Mr. Reed.
Good evening.
Good evening, Frank.
I'll cover the first two items under land planning, and then get Tony your opinion to have the third item there. First item, relatively simple, Mount Zion Baptist Church, the final land development plan. And that's the church along Denver Road, adjacent to the Comfort Inn area there. Based on the current deadline of action for December 21st, 2019, we did receive a time extension from the applicant's consultant dated December 6th. As indicated in the third paragraph there, they state, unfortunately, some of the building design aspects are still being worked out and finalized, which could impact the connections and design and proposed utilities for the project. So basically, they still have some details to work out before they can proceed to finalize some issues with the East Cocalico Township Authority, and then proceed to resolve any other items associated with the project, financial security, etc. So the motion would be to accept the 90-day time extension submitted by the applicant's consultant dated December 6th, 2019, and extend the deadline for action on the Mount Zion Baptist Church final land development plan until March 20th, 2020.
Anybody here representing that plan?
I do not expect anyway.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay. Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you.
The next item, the project is Wabash Landing, and similarly, there's a time extension issue to resolve, and then I have one other item just want to highlight to you for future consideration by the board. So this is the Phase 2 final plan for Wabash. It was submitted, we issued a review letter. The applicant had attended the planning commission meeting. And really, the big outstanding items for them to continue working through are their traffic impact study to be submitted to PennDOT for access onto Stevens Road, which is a vital component to the Phase 2 portion of the project. So they were bogged down a little bit, actually as a result of the detours on 222, changing traffic patterns and making it unable for them to really properly evaluate current traffic patterns. So that's since been resolved, and they're moving forward. So as a result of that issue, it's going to take some time. They have provided a 90-day time extension. So the suggested motion there would be a motion to accept the 90-day time extension offer as submitted by the applicant's consultant dated December 17, 2019, which will extend the deadline for action on the Wabash Landing Phase 2 final subdivision and land development plan until April 25th, 2020.
Anybody representing that plan?
I do not expect them to.
I'll make that motion. I'll second it. Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you.
Maybe just to give you a little, like I said, there's a second item on Wabash and I'll hand out. Those items to you and. And Tony's familiar with, there's 3 pages. And all I wanted to highlight here for you is that as part of the Phase 2 plan, there's really one issue that needs maybe a little additional discussion early on so the developer can proceed with some confidence. The project was originally preliminary plan approved, then the Phase 1 final plan was approved, and that's the portion that's under construction. So the top sheet in the handout to you identifies Phase 1, identifies in yellow what is known now as the temporary secondary emergency access. And then the pink is what would be referred to as the park access drive portion. So the way Phase 1 was worked, based on the number of homes in Phase 1, there was a requirement for temporary secondary access. Waiver modification was approved to authorize the use of the yellow portion to be established as a 15-foot wide stone fire, essentially a fire lane emergency access, which then connects to the park access drive. So that's, the first sheet just highlights what Phase 1 was. Second page gives you a broader understanding of what the current phasing, long-term phasing approach is. And Phase 2, which is to the northeast of Phase 1, very similar in size if you look at them from an overall acreage standpoint. Originally, that back portion was supposed to be Phase 3. The applicant is requesting to modify their phasing, and the primary reason for doing that is so when if they had to leave Phase 3 where it was back there, when that is built, all the traffic would have to come out through a completed Phase 1. The way they're doing it now, Phase 3 bulk of the activity would exit out towards Stevens Road with very little impact to Phases 1 and 2. So then you turn to page 3 of that. And what the proposal is to resolve the temporary access for Phase 2. And this is based on a meeting on site with Tony, myself, and the fire marshal, Harvey, or Yaki, would be to beef up the, now it's in orange portion, which was the prior one, beef that access up to a 20-foot wide improved stone area, and then the pink would be what was the access drive in the park, and that would be paved. So really the changes would be, if you want to summarize it, would be widening the emergency access from 15 feet to 20 feet,
And then continue it down.
and then connecting it. And then there's a second leg to it to provide a secondary access to the smaller portion of Phase 2 out by Stevens Road. So,
I'm sorry, 24 feet wide, not 20, right?
no, within, the emergency portion is 20 in a temporary stone condition.
Okay.
Now, what will happen would be, there had been additional discussions, well, what if Phase 3 doesn't come for an extended period of time? What's the fallback then? And then the fallback is the financial security to connect the orange, at least for now, from Phase 1 and 2 to the park with a 24-foot wide paved access.
So the pink would be paved 24 foot.
The pink is paved, will be paved no matter what. The pink is the access drive to the park, 24 foot. So, yeah, and Harvey indicated, Tony can confirm, Harvey, that was what Harvey's suggestion was, to go 20 foot on the temporary stone portion, and he would be satisfied with that. And as with Phase 1, there was an agreement outlining the terms of maintenance responsibility for the temporary portions and so forth, so that same type of agreement would come. So the planning commission had generally supported that, like I said, Barbie and Tony were supportive of that.
Chad and Don,
Yeah.
did you see this at all?
I haven't seen the page 3 there, I'll look at it afterward, but what they're saying, we have no issue with.
Can you come there and look at it?
Secondary entrance, so it's fine as it sits.
Yeah.
Don, here, you want, Don, here, take the color one.
That's all, they're all colored.
All color.
They're all
Or the pink would be paved.
paved, yeah.
Yeah, we have no issue with that, we have no issue as it sits, so.
Okay, I just wanted to be
Yep.
sure.
Nope, we have no issue with whatever Harvey says there on that.
So, all I wanted to do is give you a little heads up there. The next step would be the planning commission had supported this, and then the waiver modification. All we wanted to get is a general read from the board that you're generally supportive of this and did not have a major concern. In the meantime, then we'll come back with you with a more formalized motion suggesting timeframes relative to, what is the timeframe at which the phase 3, if it hasn't happened, then the township would have the alternative of requesting that it be paved and implementing the financial security aspect of it. And identifying maintenance, making sure plowing responsibilities in the interim are addressed and so forth. So a lot of that is similar to the prior agreement with the exception of this permanent option. We just wanted to make sure that there wasn't further demands to enhance it more because the developer has indicated that if they have to do too much to formalize the secondary emergency access as an interim condition, it would change their philosophy on how to phase things, so you're not putting something in and tearing it out. So, I think,
Go ahead, no, I'm sorry. Go ahead and finish.
I think, he was.
That begs a question, and I have to say, put it in and tear it out. And it's just a question, and the concept is great, I think it's needed, but why didn't they stay where the roads are being designed? Why didn't they make that the temporary, just because they're gonna lay this stone bed down and then tear it all up again? I mean, it's just.
Yeah, there's a lot involved, there's a lot of utilities that would come up through their water, sewer,
Okay,
storm. So
that's
it
fine, I knew there was a
essentially-
legitimate
Yeah.
answer.
It essentially almost is in the way and harder to maintain it as you're working.
That's fine.
So as phase 3 would come in, we'll have to salvage portions of this until that roadway is connected, at which time then we'll abandon it. So the theory is kind of kick it to the side where the homes would be, so it can stay there until, while the utilities are in place. And then once the roadway base is in, abandon it, put the traffic.
Fair enough. Yep.
But that makes sense, so.
So, that's all, I was just trying, nothing formal, because we want to work with the developer, make sure we understand their commitments, and then come back to you with more of a formalized motion for consideration, so. Any further questions?
And
Our
this
one
last
card
one,
here.
the last item is Cocalico Commons, and I'll let Tony step in here. I believe this plan has been on board for 15, 20 years. And between finances and the cost of the economy, things just have not worked out. And now they're looking to go down a new direction. So therefore, they're going to let this plan expire.
Yeah, and as the board knows, we've maintained communication over the years with Mr. Kim Fidler and Mark Stanley and his people there. And received a phone conversation, I received a phone call from them after I had left them some messages. And basically, they stated that they're in favor of doing a phase project. They're in the middle of getting people signed up for that project. And for them to keep pestering the Board of Supervisors for time extensions, they were afraid that they would kind of wear out their welcome, so to speak. And what they're proposing now with the development and changing it dramatically from what it was originally approved as, they felt it wouldn't be prudent to try and extend those protections. They're going to change it so dramatically that they're going to have to meet today's standards of stormwater management and all the other land development. So they are in no way, from what Kim said, they're not abandoning their project in any way, shape, or form. They're still moving forward with it. They own that property. And this is the reason for the email. that I
Just
sent.
redesigning it,
Basically, yeah.
reconfiguring it.
Correct.
Yeah.
They, you know,
It's more to meet the current business model.
Yeah.
well, to develop 57 acres in one shot is ridiculous. They know that, they're the big boys in the development business. They mentioned, and this is just hypothetical, possibly 10 or 15 acres as a first phase. Get those companies and those businesses in there, and proceed from there. That's as much as we talked about, okay? And that's the reason for the email, and that's why I put it in writing to you. And they received that, and they also basically admonished that they received it. So everybody's aware of what's been written here.
Okay.
Okay?
Good. Thanks.
Yep, you're welcome.
I would just do a motion acknowledging that simply because the plan has been on the books for so long, I would acknowledge expiration of that plan.
And to tell them we're looking forward to them moving forward. You write it down, I'll make it.
It's already on there. It's a motion acknowledging that the Cocalico Commons Land Development Plan will expire on December 30th, 2019. Therefore, any and all previous approved conditions pertaining to this plan will also expire.
I'd like to add that we also are looking forward to moving with them in the future. I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you.
Before I head, I just wanted to say I appreciate your service, Doug. I appreciate working with you on the land development side and your thought and care and consideration to projects and valued questions and input and
Thank you, Brett.
challenging both us and applicants.
You taught me well.
Well, I'll leave the credit with you. I think that's served alone, so I sincerely, I do appreciate it, and I wish you the best.
Thank you.
And in your free evenings
I won't
now.
be a stranger.
All right, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Yep, Merry Christmas.
Okay, moving on. Resolution 2019-26. To adopt resolution 2019-26, authorize Eleanor Fry to sign all documents regarding the sale of the property known as 1925 North Reading Road, Denver, PA, to Crosstown Realty, Inc.,
LLC.
LLC.
Yeah, that's good.
Oh, it should be LLC.
Can I see that? You want to see?
Should be LLC.
Yep. I'll change that.
Okay. I'm not making that motion, Kevin.
I'll make the motion, yes.
And I'll go ahead and second that.
Any comments or questions?
And I think closing on that is for
December 31st.
31st
9:30 a.m.
at 9:30 a.m.
What? Ralph Buckles,
Yeah.
Denver.
Yes.
What was the amount for the sale price?
$350,000.
Was that considered within the market value?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, and it'll be divided equal by percentages for municipalities by ownership.
So that's the last of the properties tied to what would have been called the old rec or
Community center, yeah.
community center. Okay.
Yep. Any other comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you. Resolution 2019-21. The motion to adopt resolution 2019-21 authorizing East Cocalico Township, Lancaster, Pennsylvania to join the other political subdivisions as a member of the Intergovernmental Insurance Cooperative. I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Any comments or questions?
Yes.
Yes.
Why bother? Is this a savings? Is this
Yeah, this is-
protections?
this
Is
is-
risk management?
This is Benetcon.
God,
This is gonna,
it just didn't say anything on that.
yeah.
Yeah. Well.
Yes, Ralph, it is.
Yeah,
Substantial savings for.
very much so.
No problem, as long as it was Benetcon, it's fine.
Any other questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you. Next motion to re-adopt the Intergovernmental Insurance Cooperative Agreement that thus joins other political subdivisions as a member of the Intergovernmental Insurance Cooperative. I'll make that motion.
And I'll second that,
Any comments or questions? This is also part of that.
related to that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you. E-code, general code.
Yep, this is their supplement, they sent our estimate to be supplement number 11 to update all of our codes and ordinances for codification purposes. And their estimate is between $19.90 and $2,515 for the year, and that's because today on.
Is Kevin and both Kirk here?
Yes.
You asked on behalf of.
I'll make a motion to adopt general code estimate for updating codification, the coding of these Cocalico ordinances.
I'll second that motion.
Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you. Okay. We have a letter of resignation. Jeffrey Mitchell, as of January 6th, will be the new supervisor of the township, and as such, he can no longer be part of the zoning hearing board, so he has handed in his resignation letter. The motion would be to accept the resignation of the zoning hearing board member Jeffrey Mitchell.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
I'll second it.
Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. MS4. Everything?
Yes, the Growing Greener grant application I've been working on is due tomorrow. I still have one support letter that I need to submit it. I have everything else done, and I'm just getting that tomorrow. The amount we are requesting via the grant is slightly over $450,000. And with that goes the 15% match from the township MS4 budget of about $95,000. So, very major project, and that's for the stream bank restoration in the Greenstown Municipal Park in the area along the pool. There are sections of that where if you go down into the channel and stand, you're looking up at the top of the bank with an eroding surface 6 feet high. It's losing a lot of sediment there that's on its way to the Chesapeake Bay. And this should stop most of that.
Okay.
So, we applied for, as you suggested, $450,000, and our matching part would be 15% of that. So if we get 200, we still match 15%. Is that how it works? Or we don't know.
Then we have to drop back, because if we only get 200,000, the project is still gonna cost the original amount, and then we have to decide whether we really wanna do that now or not.
Thank
Because
you.
there would be other granting opportunities in the future, that if we don't get the money to do this, we probably don't want to start right away. We have the time available in the permit cycle that we can wait.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks, Ken.
Thanks, Ken. Any questions of Ken? Okay, thank you. Manager report.
All right, gentlemen, since I came on board as of 1st December, kept me pretty busy. So I attended quite a few meetings. I'll just touch on them briefly. On the 5th, we hosted PennDOT here for their traffic improvement programs. They did touch on 5 needs areas of the township. The big focus was on the Colonel Howard Boulevard project, and that would be to put in a diverging diamond. But they are in the middle of one cycle. The next cycle starts. They'll start planning for the next cycle in 2021. But even with all of that, we're still looking at 8 years before that would happen.
At the earliest.
At the earliest. And so to make sure that stays on the books, we really need to attend every meeting and voice our our opinions to keep that on the books.
Any question? 8 years for the start of that project
No.
process or completion?
Completion. So on the 6th, I attended the legislator managers meeting. Our representatives, Brett Miller and David Zimmerman were there. I think I have the names correct. They did touch on radar use for local waste. That's Senate Bill 251. They are pushing for that. They're still working out the details on that. You do have to be a full-time force. They were, did have that you would have to be an accredited force, but they are looking, they're turning that down because it would just be too much to ask. So, but it looks like that's going to go through for our law enforcement. So another big issue was controlling of our right-of-ways. All the utilities that are coming through the townships are cramming all of their cables and wires into this little space. And then in a matter of 5 years, they're abandoning them because, you know, that utility no longer exists. So all those lines are still there, and it's becoming quite a headache. So they really want townships to be able to take charge of their own right-of-ways again. 5G is coming through, and that's going to be its own set of issues. So they would like to get that under control before that happens. The hot topic, of course, was MS4, stormwater. And that raised some voices during this meeting. It was noted that PADEP is far more restrictive than APA requires. So PSTAS and the legislators are going to fight that, and they keep pushing for directives onto municipalities with no funding. I did get a small snicker. There is one township there that is enacting a stormwater fee, and instead of calling it a stormwater fee, they're going to call it the PA unfunded mandated fee. I like that one
I
too.
like that one. That's good.
They also touched on emergency services, how our volunteer services are collapsing all over the state, and paid emergency services are on the way. They did note that a couple years ago we had to start covering our fire personnel cancer-wise, and that upped our insurance tremendously. They're now looking to have us cover post-traumatic stress disorder, and that will double our premiums. So, looking at that, that meeting was a pretty good meeting. Also attended with Ken. We went to an MS4 no-till workshop meeting. That was pretty enlightening and educating. I met with Greenstown Ambulance and Fire Company, and we had discussions there about their billing, and they did express the desire to continue our meetings with all the fire companies. They would like the fire chiefs present, the emergency services, and the trustees. That's something that all of us will have to discuss, but I do want to continue those meetings and get us all on board again and working in one direction. I attended the Lancaster County Managers Luncheon. Fortunately, it was their Christmas luncheon, so it was not a lot of business discussed. Tony and I met with the Village of East people about their planned Toys for Tots was put on up at the Comfort Inn. Sherry hosted that, and Stony Park was able to present their plan idea to that captive audience, so that was nice. I'm starting to reconnect with some of my colleagues from Dauphin County that are now in Lancaster County, so I'm starting to make those connections here. And we also met with Ephrata Borough to discuss solar. They purchase, boroughs are allowed to have utility companies, and the borough already has one solar farm. They're looking at installing another. It's looking at a tract of land here in the township, but that's just all talk right now. And Turkey Hill, we met with them yesterday about selling beer and adding more parking spaces. So busy.
Thank you. Any comments or questions for the manager? Public comment. Anybody have any public comment? Any questions? to make one comment about the budget. Our millage rate, we have a police force. Denver uses our police force. West does not have a police force, they have effort up out of this town. Our millage rate is cheaper than the other 3 municipalities in the school district, and we have our own police force, and that's commendable. And where we live, you don't want to be without a police force, the 222 and the turnpike. And if you look at the report of DUIs that our policemen pick up, we're a lot safer in this township because of our police force. So I want to commend them. And I wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And we'll recess now to do executive session for.
I just have one other comment, and I swear it's gonna be my last one.
Don't swear.
We talked about, Alan just gave a nice commendation to the police force. You know, we have a gentleman on the police force, Mr. Officer Kreischer, and I always get it messed up, but he does a motor carrier. What's the acronym for that?
Mix-up.
Mix-up. You'll see he and/or state police or other regional police pulling trucks over throughout the township. They usually, I know one of the places they do it is down here at 222. And it's amazing when you read those reports. You know, I always, and I'm not knocking truck drivers, I'm not doing that. I'm just saying there's some people out there that are a little suspect that are driving trucks. And thank God that there's equipment running up and down this road that shouldn't be out on the road. So he pulls them over, or they pull them over. They do a heck of a benefit for this township. I don't know how many other guys in the area have one of those officers or
Not a lot.
no. So, you know, we talked many times, we're in the proximity to 272, 222 in the turnpike, which generates a lot of traffic and a lot of it's trucks. There's people coming out of other states, I won't name them, that are a little, you know, flighty, and they get pulled over and they get tagged, and the truck gets parked or the driver gets parked, and it's taken care of, it's taken off, so our roads are safer. So I appreciate that on Officer Kreischer's part. It's not an easy job, and certainly not liked very well, but it's part of the job. So pass that on, please.
Okay, we'll recess for executive session. We'll come back and reconvene and then adjourn, but there will be no those decisions. So thank you everybody for coming tonight. Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
See you in January. Next year.